I'm Judy Zelina. This is the Millcreek Government Channel. SafeNet is Erie's only accredited domestic violence agency. They've been providing services to victims of domestic violence since 1974 and provide these comprehensive services free of charge. SafeNet is committed to ending domestic violence through their programs, training, and educational initiatives. They believe every individual has the right to be respected and to live a life free from abuse. Joining us on the program today, we have Shirley Williams, and Shirley is the Medical and Community Outreach Liaison, along with being a past president of the board.
Absolutely. I've been involved with SafeNet for over 25 years.
Wow, wonderful. I mean, how rewarding.
It's
You know, this
rewarding.
organization and the different programs are just so rewarding. I'm so glad you had time to come on the show. The reason I wanted to do this show, you have been on, not you personally, but I know Linda has been on the show previously. And I just thought it was, you know, I just wanted to remind people that domestic violence is out there. It happens. And there are so many people that are embarrassed to come forward. And, you know, because it, you know, they're saying, oh my gosh, I can't let anybody know this is going on. What will they think? Right?
Judy, that's so well put. Thank you, and your introduction was perfect. I appreciate that. The problem is pervasive. At one point, Surgeon General Everett Koop called it a public health crisis, and it still is today. Unfortunately, there is a culture of violence out there, not just domestic, but all sorts. And domestic violence isn't just physical violence. It's easy to note a black eye or, you know, burn marks, whatever. But the more subtle portions of domestic violence are psychological and emotional, financial, sexual. So I'm so pleased that you have us on today, have me here to define what domestic violence is and what services we do offer. October is Breast Cancer Awareness Month, and that's incredibly important, but it's also Domestic Violence Awareness Month.
Okay.
So you're finishing off the month with this presentation. I appreciate that. We do have a shelter. As you said so well in your introduction, in 1974, a group of interfaith women, Presbyterian, Jewish, and Catholic, felt a need for crisis services in the city of Erie. There was no PFA, Protection from Abuse, back in 1974. So they opened a little house, and they thought that would suffice. Within a year, they had outgrown that home.
Isn't that amazing? Oh my gosh.
It's regrettable. Mm-hmm. So they moved into a larger home, which is where the crisis services, our shelter, is now, and that's undisclosed. And we've outgrown that. At any given time in this home that was built for a family of 5, 28 women and children were trying to coalesce.
Oh my gosh.
So when I was on the board, we had a capital campaign, and we erected an annex. And it's a beautiful annex. We had a lot of support from the community, which we love, and we now have 45 beds. At any given time throughout the year, SafeNet will answer over 2,000 calls. It's a lot of calls. Now, they're not all just for shelter services. There are questions about, what can I do? I think I'm in an abusive situation, or my friend is in an abusive situation, or perhaps they need shelter or a PFA, legal advocacy support, 2,000. In shelter, we have over 500 each year, and half of them are children under the age of 12, and we get no funding for children.
Oh my gosh. Oh.
Now, the average stay in our shelter is 30 days, but sometimes a woman can't find self-sufficiency, can't find adequate housing within 30 days, so we don't kick her out.
Okay.
And we send her over to our bridge house, which is adjacent to our shelter. There are about 6 rooms there, and they can stay for up to a year.
Now, is it the bridge house, is it attached to
It is not.
the shelter?
No, it's a separate.
Okay.
Separate. And at this point, we don't just leave them on their own. We offer support, advocacy, legal, and counseling, and self-sufficiency, life skills, parenting, everything that would help them to become a productive member of society again. And most importantly, self-esteem and awareness that they're not at fault.
You know, I found that very interesting, because when people think of domestic violence, you're right, all they think of is the black eye.
Yes.
Yeah, and you know, smacking someone or hitting somebody. But boy, I'll tell you, the damage done from emotional abuse, And don't you even think that sometimes the person in the situation doesn't even realize that it is abuse?
That happens so often, Judy, and that's a good question. Absolutely. They don't understand. I know I'll be talking to people at a social event. Now, I don't just get into domestic violence at a social event, but it always comes about.
How's your home
So,
life?
yeah, what's going on with you? Are you feeling safe? I mean, and that is important, and we'll get into that as well, because so often people want to be that non-participant. It's a very personal issue.
It is.
We had a conference recently, and Dr. Wanda Filer from York, PA, actually was the first physician general, I believe, for the Commonwealth of Pennsylvania under the Ridge administration, and she spoke about screening and how important it is for our medical profession to do so. After all, they are the first line of defense.
Right.
And she talked about some of her colleagues, and she did this kind of jocularly. She said some of her colleagues said, well, how can I talk to a woman about domestic violence? That is so personal. And Wanda looked and said, you just gave her a pelvic exam. How much more personal does it get? So there is that, that wistfulness, I guess I want to say, or that lack of comfortableness with addressing it.
And I think a person in that situation, a doctor, they would hold them in higher respect, that if they took an interest and actually asked them what was going on, they may be more apt to disclose to a doctor, don't you think?
Absolutely, I do.
Or someone, a professional in some way.
Absolutely, and it would show that they do care.
Exactly.
And that there are referral systems, and it's a warm handoff, we call it, in the field, that the medical profession, maybe they recognize this, they see that there's a problem, and they say, we have help for you. We have colleagues with SafeNet that can help you. And all of our staff are trained. We are on call to the hospitals 24/7, 365 days a year, and we're all trained and certified with confidentiality under the Pennsylvania Coalition Against Domestic Violence.
You know what, too? Another thing I want to talk about, you guys just do an absolute wonderful job. Domestic violence knows no age boundaries, do they?
Very good.
It can happen to even very younger people, younger mothers. In fact, you even have something called TLC.
We do.
Tell us a little bit about that.
Thank you, I will. It's called transitional living, and we do have young mothers, generally women with one child, or she's pregnant with her first child, and they are between the ages of 16 and 21. And they don't really fit into the structured area of shelter. And there is a lot of chaos in shelters. So we have 6 rooms, and I think we have 5 people in them now. And we offer them life skills as well, parenting skills as well. Oftentimes they haven't completed their degree, so we encourage them to go on for a GED. We help them find employment. We help them find housing. And we give them a sense of purpose and belonging, because one of the hallmarks of domestic violence, or as we like to call it, intimate partner violence, domestic seems so limited.
Right.
And you talked about the people that are touched by domestic violence. If you can see my pin here, you see this is one of the pins with the houses we were
right, and I have the house
something
pin.
like that.
Yes.
But it's a nameless, faceless person who is the victim of domestic violence. We call it the silent secret. So many people are touched by this. It is not just the woman. It is not just the woman that lives in an impoverished background. It touches all socioeconomic classes, genders. Last year in shelter, we actually counseled 30 men. Now, we can't house them in shelter. We do have an alternate site for them. But we have several men in shelter now, and we do counsel their children. We have an elder problem, regrettably. So we've had to retrofit our shelter, which is an old shelter, to accommodate those people that are handicapped. And gender issues. We have the older Americans, so we work with Adult Protective Services.
Wow. Now, you said you built an annex. How long ago was that?
We did build an annex in 2007. We built that to accommodate the overflow, and it's absolutely beautiful, and we've had a lot of support from the community on that. There is a place we call the quiet room. We don't allow any type of radios or any type of TV or outside activity, and it's mostly for our moms to go in there and just sit and be quiet away. We have programming for the children, and mom's able to go away and think about her life and putting her life in order.
Oh, that is,
It's a wonderful place.
I mean, one thing about SafeNet, you guys really have thought of everything, because it's not just getting the individual out of the situation.
You're exactly right.
That's just the beginning.
You are exactly right. Thank you. You seem to be very aware. I appreciate that. In 2010, SafeNet was the recipient of the Manufacturers Association Roar on the Shore, and that gave us some seed money. We were so pleased with that. We were able to buy 6 contiguous lots immediately behind the shelter and create, I think, a haven. There's a haven back there. We call it our big backyard, and we do a lot of fun things in that big backyard, and we will be talking about that further. But it's an oasis in the middle of downtown Erie, and I think it enhances the area. We do a lot of things with our communities. I think we're very, very good community partners, and we do open up this backyard not only to our clientele, but to the community.
You were talking earlier about how years ago there was not protection from abuse.
It was not.
Tell us a bit about, how you see that now, that protection from abuse. How does that all work?
We have something that is called PFACS, and that stands for Protection from Abuse Coordinating Services, and our PFA office, legal office. It's a separate 501c3, and it is housed at SafeNet's administrative office. We have a full-time staff attorney and several part-time, all qualified attorneys, and legal assistants that help with counseling, advocacy, and support. The criminal justice system is absolutely daunting. I used to work in adult probation. I still find it daunting. And think about it. If you're troubled, if you're heartbroken, if your life is in shambles, and you're going to go and you're going to face your abuser alone, we don't allow that. We go with them. Oftentimes we'll pick them up at their home if they have no accommodation. So I'm very proud of this, and I don't think people in the community are aware of the full range of services. So again, I thank you for hosting us here today.
Well, I think what I'm hearing from you is you are there for them every step of the way.
We are.
Because as you know, and I know just from people that have been in these situations, it is tough taking that first step.
Absolutely.
Question, do you still see victim blaming?
Yes.
And I think that's one of the reasons why people are afraid to come forward.
I hear it today. Yes, I do hear it. I hear it all the time. We hear it, and you try not to show any sign of reaction. You just try to educate. And that's part of what we're doing, to educate and make people aware. It is not the fault of the victim. I mean, why not blame the abuser? Why is he or she abusing? And as I said, it's not always just women. The majority are women, but we do deal with men, yes. And why? I mean, and then why does she stay? That's a question we always get. Why does she stay?
I was going to say, you hear
right?
that.
You do.
Why would they stay in that situation?
And I know that's a point of frustration
They're not
for our
there.
law
They don't
enforcement.
understand. Yes,
exactly.
it's tough.
And it's tough. I mean, it's a very volatile situation for law enforcement. And we have some great men and women in law enforcement, and I'll talk to you about that in a bit as well. But why does she stay? Well, she stays for a myriad of reasons. The obvious one is that she does love this person. She wouldn't be with this person if she didn't love him or her, and there's still that psychological attachment. Oftentimes there are children. That's a whole nother area. And there is a generational abuse pattern, which is followed too, and we are trying to stop that and break that cycle. She's afraid, she has no other support system. People do blame. And the fear of failure. She's a failure. I failed at my marriage. I can't do anything right. She's depressed. She's lost self-respect. She's lost self-esteem. There's that sense of hopelessness. And we know that hopelessness is pervasive. It's pervasive in our own communities with other areas of drug and alcohol, mental health. And of course that transitions into abuse as well.
We were talking about the children here. You have got a lot of children's programs, don't you?
We do. We love our children, and we have fun with our children. And unfortunately, I don't think I have one of the logos, but one of the things that we teach them or work with them, and especially the young 3 to 5 years old, they don't understand what's going on, and all too often they take ownership of this in their little minds. If mommy and daddy are fighting, it's because of me.
Right. What did
I'm
I
bad.
do wrong?
So we need to correct that and give them a sense of worth, and that they're not to blame. But we have a program called Hands Are Not for Hitting. So everybody does the hands. Remember we used to do that years ago in school and make a turkey or something that, the outline of your hand.
Oh, we went to the same school.
Anyway, what they do is, and they put this in a form, what else can you use your hands for? Well, I hug mommy. I hug my sister. You know, I brush my hair. They come up with very creative things, far more creative than I am at this stage. But it's very emotional. It's very endearing.
Right.
So it gives them a different perspective. We have a program in collaboration with the Pennsylvania Children's Fund, and it's called Strong Family, Safe Family, and it's a 14-week program, and I think it's 2 hours a day. At this point, we're hosting it out in our Q unit. We call it the Quebec unit, which is our housing unit. And we bring mothers and their children together in a safe, supportive environment. And we offer them dinner each time they come. And regrettably, so many are impoverished and hungry.
Right.
And we get this money for these meals from the community. Again, because there is no money, there is no funding for children. As amazing as that may sound. So we offer them dinner, which is always fun for them, and then activities that are appropriate for their age.
Oh, you're right. You do love your children.
Oh, we do.
Well, you know what? They're victims also.
They are victims.
They've seen things that they have. Those little I should not have seen at that age.
Exactly. Exactly. And think about it. You've heard of nature nurture in psychology, and this is a learned behavior. And what happens? I mean, regrettably, all too often,
you're right.
They become abusers, or they are abused. You know, they meet somebody that is just like daddy or mommy.
They end up victims of their circumstance.
They do, absolutely.
They don't know
so
how
if we can
to break
change
from
those
Right.
patterns, that's the thing, and that's what we're trying to do, just one step at a time. We try to get out to the schools and do presentations. I know this year we've done many presentations at our colleges and universities. We also do presentations at our hospitals. We just did one for the physicians, I believe, at St. Vincent's, and we'll be going to UPMC Hammett. So we have a lot of incredible partnerships. We have partnerships with our law enforcement. We love our law enforcement. Millcreek has been the forerunner, thanks to Millcreek. They use what we call the LAP program, and it's a Maryland-based program, empirically studied. It's lethality assessment, and it's a screening tool for law enforcement. Law enforcement, just like healthcare professionals, are the first line of defense.
Yes,
and it's very dangerous, as we've said. So there are questions that they can ask to make the victim feel comfortable, and then to turn them over to a counselor at SafeNet.
Okay, that's great. I mean, you do have a lot of partners. As I'm listening, it's like, oh my goodness. You leave no stone unturned.
Well, we don't.
I love it.
No.
I love it. One of my notes here, I have Scrabble.
Oh my
tell our
goodness.
viewers about
Let's
Scrabble.
talk about Scrabble. Do you have
put a
the
smile
logo
on her
here?
face.
Well, it did. And you know, Scrabble, I think we're going into our third year of Scrabble. It started out as a very small venue. A group of women that supports SafeNet got together and thought, let's do something fun. Because a lot of what we do is taxing.
Right.
You know, we're always in a
very
crisis.
emotional,
There's
yes.
a vicarious trauma, secondary trauma that is attendant to something like this. So they got together and they started this Scrabble game. And then it grew and grew and grew. And I mean, I think this last year we had over 300 people. We had to move down to the Bayfront. And they take this very seriously.
Are you kidding?
Oh my gosh.
Oh my gosh.
They do. We actually have people walking around with dictionaries to make sure that those words are real. But people are very competitive and they have fun. And they generate a lot of money and a lot of goodwill for SafeNet, so we're very pleased with that.
What a great idea that was.
Who would think of it, right?
I know. It's so funny because I do have a friend, and I believe, I don't know if I want to call him a professional Scrabble player, but he travels all over different countries.
You need to tell him about this.
I'm going to.
Please.
He's retired, and he does this now, and
oh my gosh.
he absolutely loves it. I mean, he's over in England and
with
Spain.
Scrabble? Oh my goodness.
And all these different competitions. You're just starting. You're going to have international fame.
I think so too.
Done.
Thank you, Judy.
And then you have a garden party?
We do have a garden party. That is the I would say, the benchmark program of our board. We have a very active board of directors, and we thought we'd come up with something, a signature event, something again is fun and kind of elegant, and something that showcase this massive children's backyard that we have. No swings there, no swings, no sliding boards. It is just all natural play, and it was based on, we had help with Brian Winslow from Asbury Woods.
Yes.
And it was based on a book by Ken Finch, I believe, about No Child Left Behind. And life is so stressful and cumbersome, and especially for our young ones that are just developing. And what do we resort to? Technology. We were talking about that, Judy.
Yes.
They're on their cell phones, they're on their computers, they're doing games, and they really don't have any social contact with others. It's difficult to do that anymore. So the first time we opened up our garden and let our young people in, what are we supposed to do in here? There aren't any swings. Well, there are mounds, natural mounds. You know, play King of the Mountain. I don't know about you, but years ago, when I was growing up, I went outside after breakfast and didn't come in until
Same here.
dinner,
We were just
right?
talking about, and we didn't need props.
None.
I mean,
None.
we made jungles and everything
Absolutely.
else. Rode our bikes, and
And use your imagination.
we used our imagination.
And that's what they're doing.
Right.
It's wonderful. In fact, even Piper Burley was utilizing our background,
Were they really?
backyard for a period of time to bring their kids there and just to enjoy the outdoors.
Well, you also tell me about Boo Run. We still have so much to talk about. That's
well,
why
we
I'm
do,
thinking,
and you
oh
have
my
these
gosh.
pictures you need to show. I know, but it's so easy to talk to you. Boo Run is fun as well, and that started by one of our board members about, I'd say 6 years ago, and he was a member of the Erie Runners Club.
Okay.
And he said, let's do something different. Everybody has a run of some sort. Let's do something out at the peninsula. Well, did you ever try to run on sand? It's not easy. It's very challenging. So he started this. It started out with a group of Erie runners.
It's not going to be very
Right.
graceful. I'm not going to be looking like a gazelle.
Well, I have to tell you this. One year, a group, and I go out and I judge because I don't run, but I do judge and I am involved. One year, a group of Gannon students came dressed as a caterpillar. And this just sticks in my mind because all they did was throw a sheet over 3 or 4 of them, and they ran that course.
Oh my gosh, how fun.
Well, think of how they did that. I mean, how do you do that? I certainly couldn't do it. They were wonderful. We love them. So we get a lot of support from the schools. Again, I think maybe we had 50 or so people. The Boo Run is going to be this Sunday, and we have over 200 runners. Amazing.
Oh my
Isn't that great?
gosh.
And then think of it, what a great way to enjoy Presque Isle. We have that beautiful park down there, and to be outdoors.
You have some great fundraisers, and viewers really, if you have any questions too, they do have a website or their Facebook page also that will let you know anything that's going on. But you guys have some great fundraisers, and of course, a lot of your funding comes from the fundraisers. It's
It does.
so important to be able to be able to help you. Volunteers, how important are volunteers?
Volunteers are very, very important, and we do have the support of the schools. You know, so many of our high schools and colleges do offer internships and community service credits, and they've been very cooperative with us. So we do every year is was it the Pikes, I believe, from Gannon would help clear out our big backyard because we just don't have the funds for it. And not only do we do children's programs or have our signature event in that backyard, we have weddings, we have showers. It's used for so many things because it is just so beautiful. So yes, we do get a lot of volunteers, and we're very pleased. In fact, I think we had to close or cap our volunteers for this week's Boo Run and our children's event. We do have a children Halloween party in the big backyard.
You guys do a great job. I've only got a few minutes
I
left, so is there
know.
we could sit here and talk for another hour.
Well, we
is there
could.
something you wanted to touch base on that you really wanted to get out to
Yes, I do want to
viewers?
say, yes.
Okay.
I mean, we do have a hotline, and I don't know if that's being aired. It's 454-8161, and again, we have counselors with full confidential. I mean, that's really supreme privileges. But so much of this is dire, but there is hope out there. And I want to end with that. I mean, we have so many success stories, Judy, and that just really enlightens us and makes our hearts very happy, and it shows us we're doing something good. People come into shelter without hope, and there is a lot of despair, and we watch how they are transformed, even within a 30-day period, into people that can reclaim their lives and be empowered and not go back into those destructive relationships.
That is amazing.
It is.
That is
It
amazing
is.
because I'm going to tell you, I couldn't imagine how difficult that would be. having no money. You're leaving everything. You're leaving your home. You have no money. They've had control over everything in so many situations.
Very well put.
And you're there to help them.
We are. A friend of mine came to this lunch and learn. We do these lunch and learns. We just did one where we give a brief tour of our shelter and our backyard, and then we have a presentation with a lunch, obviously, and talk about some of the services that we offer and some of our needs. And a friend of mine says, oh my gosh, I couldn't come to one of your events. So I looked on your website and your our newsletter, and she said you do have a wish list. She went out and got them all. Isn't that great?
That is
so
wonderful.
Again, we have people like that too. So
wonderful.
There's a lot of good people in Erie County.
Well, Shirley, I just have to thank you for all that you do. It's a great organization. I remember when it was from the very beginning, Hospitality House. I do. Exactly. I remember Linda. I mean, Linda was part of it.
Absolutely.
Back then. So I'm so glad I got to meet you.
Thank you.
This is wonderful information. This won't be the last time you're going to be on, because I wanted to get into things like dating violence and different new things that we're seeing now that we didn't think of 20 years ago.
You're exactly right.
Well, they were there, but we didn't
recognize that.
No.
Exactly. Yes,
So,
that's all a part of that power and control. Well, Judy, thank you for what you do, and thank you for hosting SafeNet.
Oh, it was my pleasure. Thank you. Viewers, again, if you have any questions, please give them a call. They do have the 24-hour hotline. If you or someone you know is in a situation that you feel they need help in, please give them a call. For any events that they're going to be having, check out their website, check out their Facebook page, and volunteer. They're always going to have room for you. They may have to cut you off, but they'll always be the next event. But anyhow, thank you, viewers, for so much for tuning into the Millcreek Government Channel. Until next time, have a wonderful day.
You're watching the Millcreek Government Channel, powered by WQLN Public Media.